Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. This Friday is very nearly the weekend, or it might be the weekend by the time you're watching or listening to today's show. If it is, then I hope you're having a very good start to it. And fingers crossed it can be another successful weekend for Arsenal, looking to make it 3 wins in a row, which will cap a very, very good week, wouldn't it, after those victories against Forest and Sporting in the Champions League. So West Ham tomorrow. Mikel Arteta's just been speaking about that game at his pre-match press conference at London Colney. So we'll have a look at what Mikel's had to say on team news, on Gabriel, on Thomas Partey's future. Plenty to discuss on Liverpool versus Manchester City. He's been talking about Jurriën Timber and lots more. So we'll discuss that. Got a few comments from you guys as well in terms of the team selection that Mikel should potentially make tomorrow. Some difference is in opinion on how Arteta should approach this game from you guys. So we'll start, shall we, on the very latest team news. There's not much from Mikel Arteta to go on, as per usual. Wasn't given much away at all. He said, we'll see how the boys are today. A few of them weren't able to train yesterday. Don't think that's a big thing. That's very normal after a midweek game. Some players will be given an extra session off to recover, obviously, especially when you've got to factor in travel to a European trip as well. On Gabriel's fitness, I've actually chopped off what he had to say. I've just realised I've chopped off what he had to say, but he didn't have to say anything. So I may as well have just chopped off that bit about Gabriel's fitness, to be honest, because all he said was, we will wait and see. So absolutely no update from him on Gabriel. I don't think Gabriel was training yesterday. It's going to be a late decision whether he plays or not. We'll discuss on what my thoughts are if Gabriel doesn't make it, potentially what Mikel Arteta will do. We'll discuss a little bit later on. He was then asked, why are you not willing to give an update on Gabriel's condition? Mikel said, it's not that I don't want to, it's that I can't, or something. I can't remember exactly word for word what he said, but it was like that. He said, it's not that I'm trying to keep it from you, but I just don't know yet whether he's going to have a chance to play. Fingers crossed he will. The last thing you want to do is break up that William Saliba and Gabriel centre-back partnership. My hunch says he'll be okay, but that's just a hunch. That's based on no information. He looked fine after the game against Sport in midweek. But obviously there was something there. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had to go off. But you would hope that substitution was just a precautionary one and that he has recovered well enough to start. Because Arsenal just an awful lot better when you got Gabriel and William Saliba at the heart of the defence, aren't you? You don't want to have to change anything in that defence. Had too much chopping and changing in the back line. You want to keep that centre-back partnership together. So that's the very latest from Arteta when it comes to team news. Other than that, we know there's no Ben White. Obviously, he's still on the long-term injured list. No Takehiro Tomiyasu, same as Ben White on the long-term injury list. But other than that, Gabriel really is the only doubt that we know of going into this West Ham game. So it is looking good injury-wise. It's looked good for the last week. I think Arsenal's results and performances have benefited that. You can see how much improved they look when they've got a settled team playing in the right position. They've got their best players playing. They look a much better team than what we've seen so far this season. And you just want that to continue. Arteta talked about availability a lot in his press conference today. He talked about it when he was talking about Arsenal. He was asked about Manchester City and the struggles that they're going through at the moment. And again, in his response to that, he pointed to availability. Obviously, City losing a lot of players. And it doesn't matter how good you are. If your best players aren't available, you're going to struggle. No matter how good your squad is and how strong your squad is, the players who aren't in your sort of guaranteed first 11 for the majority of the time are not going to be at the same level, even if they're better than most. You're still going to have a drop-off. So even if you're Man City, you're going to have a drop-off. Mikel was pointing to that a lot in his press conference today. So fingers crossed Arsenal's availability remains fine. I reckon we'll probably find out a little bit later on today whether Gabriel's gone, because Arsenal travelled to their team hotel later, and it tends to filter out, especially when that hotel is in London. The squad tends to get spotted in terms of who is on the coach and who isn't. So I wouldn't be surprised if we find out a little bit later on today whether Gabriel is involved or not. So on West Ham themselves, Mikel said it's a team that are now on a high after the big win they had at Newcastle on Monday night, obviously, and they are always a tough opponent. We know that. They are a really physical side, really good in direct plays and attacking second balls. When they have space, they are a really dangerous team from set pieces as well, and they have the front players who can create in any moment. They are really well coached. He was asked about what the mood is like at Arsenal now after those back-to-back wins against Forest and against Sporting, and he said really good. Obviously, winning lifts the energy, gets the confidence up. They were 2 really big wins for us, and now it's about consistency, getting that moment and taking it even further. And it's something I've spoken about a lot this week, is it just that consistency for Arsenal now, getting that momentum. It's been a great start, fantastic start, the last 2 wins since the international break. You sense the uplift. You can feel the uplift in the fan base, online, everywhere, and that will factor in. It'll be exactly the same at London Colney. Mikel said it himself. Winning just breeds confidence. It makes you go into the training ground every day feeling better about yourselves with a smile on your faces. But it's games every 3 days now, basically for the foreseeable future. So it doesn't really matter what happened last weekend or what happened on Tuesday night. You've just got to keep winning. The next game is all that matters. Just got to focus on that next game and keep winning. The more wins you get under the belts, the more confident you're going to feel going into that next game. It's just about maintaining that momentum now, because Arsenal can't afford to let things slip because of what Liverpool are doing. And Mikel was asked about Liverpool, as you can imagine. He was asked on whether their form at the moment means that Arsenal now just have to be perfect. And he said, look, if they continue that way, that's for sure. The numbers they are producing, the number of games they are winning, but the focus is on us maintaining consistency and performances. That's going to give us the right to win a lot of games. Keep availability in the squad. Again, pointing at availability. Keep everyone together. And this is a long run. So pointing out there is still an awful long way to go. And there is an awful long way to go. Liverpool are in an unbelievable position. But Arsenal have been in an unbelievable position in the past recently. And we know how difficult it is to maintain that over the course of the season when you're being hunted down. So Arsenal just got to keep winning, keep trying to put the pressure on this Liverpool side. I wonder if you'll watch Liverpool versus Man City on Sunday. He said, yes, 100%. It's a big match, a beautiful match to watch. 2 of the best teams in Europe facing each other in competition. For us, it's a big one. And whether he has a preference for the result, he just said, yes, Arsenal tomorrow against West Ham. That's preference. Interesting one. What do you want? Let me know in the comments below what you want from the game, Man City against Liverpool on Sunday. I keep changing my mind about it. One time I want City to win. And then I'm like, actually, no, I want a draw. Because I remember last year wanting a draw from Liverpool versus City. It was a draw, but ultimately how the season panned out, really we needed a Liverpool win and City to get nothing. And so I keep umming and ahhing about it. But I look at that gap that exists now between Liverpool and everyone else. And I'm looking at how City are performing. I know City are still above Arsenal, and that's the thing that's holding me back. Normally, I'd look at it and just say, yeah, just Liverpool drop points. But the fact is, City is still above Arsenal. So do you really want them getting anything? It's a tough one. I think I would still probably say draw, but I'd love to get your thoughts on it, see how you're feeling ahead of this game. Obviously, Arsenal just need to win on Saturday at West Ham, and then you can put your feet up, watch what happens at Anfield, knowing you've got 3 points safely tucked away. I think I probably would prefer a draw, both of them to drop points at this stage. I'm still not ruling Man City out, and the fact that they're still above Arsenal, you can't really, if Arsenal are still in a title race, and we're thinking that Arsenal are still in a title race, you can't say that City aren't. So would you want them to get maximum points? I don't know. I think both dropping points is still probably my favoured result on Sunday. But let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Mikel was asked about Thomas Partey's future. Towards the end of the press conference, he was asked about the contract situation. Obviously, Thomas is out of contract at the end of the season. Mikel said, we will find the right time to discuss about this situation. He is showing consistency at the highest level, again, because of his availability. There's that word again, availability. And the way he feels physically is allowing him to do that. And I'm very pleased with that. So that's what Mikel had to say on Thomas Partey. There haven't been any talks yet with Thomas Partey about his future. He is out of contract in the summer. It's going to be an interesting one to see what happens with that one. But Thomas certainly showing with his form this season that he's still right up there with the best midfielders there are in Europe. And, he's doing that on a consistent basis. As Mikel said, availability is such a key thing for that, because for Thomas, it's just been, that availability has just been so hard to come by in the last couple of years. But he's showing this season that at the moment he can stay available. And when he's staying available, he is still a hell of a midfielder. This is what some of you guys have been saying in terms of the weekend's game. Just looking at this quickly, he said, I agree with you, Charles. And this was in response to me saying that I think Mikel will probably go with the same lineup that he went against Sporting. John says, I agree with you, Charles. Same team on Saturday, a little bit early to give them a break, play him in the next 2 games, then look at it. I think you were talking about Jurriën Timber there. This was because me and James were debating on Extra Time yesterday whether you protect Timber a little bit after those 2 games and take him out the side. And I think James said he probably would, and I said he wouldn't. I think he still sticks with Timber at right back. So John's agreeing with me with there, and he continued to play Timber at right back. But then the one below, can't get that pronunciation right, sorry. He said, I would like us to rotate as much as possible, bring Jesus, Jorginho and Marino. Won't change the quality of the team that much. We need rotation for this busy schedule, which you absolutely do need rotation for this busy schedule. That's going to have to be factored in over the coming weeks. But I still look at this week, the fact that he rotated last week. So the players haven't been, flogged to death in the last week. He's had 2 pretty different teams in the 2 games. But then I think you look at the week Arsenal got coming up now of West Ham, Man United, and then Fulham. It's a massive week for Arsenal. Yeah, I mean, every week's a massive week for Arsenal, but this is a real chance, I think, especially with City and Liverpool playing, for Arsenal to really send out a bit of a statement and build on this momentum that they've got. And I think given it's Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday, I'm just not sure he's going to rotate too much. I think he's going to go very, very strong in all 3 of those games. I have to say, just sort of on rotation and potential players who could come in for that. Raheem Sterling obviously was one of them. He was waiting to come on in the game against Sporting, but then the injury to Gabriel meant that Kivior came on and Sterling had to sit down. So it's another frustrating night for him. Didn't get on the pitch. Mikel was asked about Sterling in the press conference, and he was asked, how did he react to what happened on Tuesday night? He said nothing. There was just a smile on his face. Fortunately for me, he said it's a thing that happens in football. It happened to him. He reacted in the best way possible, which is understanding. He's been in the game a long time and he knows this is something that I can't control. He was then asked, how he thinks that the move has gone for Sterling so far, and whether, I think that everyone was expecting we'd probably see a little bit more than him. And Mikel said, I would like to see more of him, to be fair, and this is down to me. He's given his best. His application, his commitment around the team has been exceptional. And now it's time for me to give him more minutes. He said that is the intention. That's why I put him on against Forest. That's why I put him on. That's why I wanted to put him on against Sporting. Now it's about him getting in the rhythm that he can really impact the team. So it'll be interesting to see if we do start to see a little bit more of Sterling, because we haven't seen much of him, have we? It's been a bit of a surprise, even in games that Arsenal were struggling while Odegaard was out and Arsenal were looking for goals. There'd be games like Inter Milan, I'm thinking of Newcastle away, and they lost. We didn't even see Sterling on the pitch at all, which was a bit of a surprise. I know he hasn't exactly pulled up any trees yet since he's been here, but there has been signs when he's been on the pitch. There even was last week against Nottingham Forest when he set up Ethan for his goal, that he can make an impact in this team. And I think over the coming weeks, given how many games Arsenal have got coming up, and there's just no break, I think we're going to have to see more of those sort of players. And I think maybe we're starting to see that this week with Mikel on it. He was asked about Martin Odegaard again and about how well he's responded and how quickly he sort of got back into the groove. He says, good players that are so consistent, so reliable, can take their game to a different level and make players around them better. That's a huge quality that Martin has, of course. And yes, he's been missed. He said the way he prepared himself while he was out, how much work he put in with the physios and the medical department to get in the best possible condition to face this period. And to be able to hit the ground running was exceptional. Since the Chelsea game, he's been very consistent, and he has been. He's been brilliant, and fingers crossed that he stays fit, obviously, for the games that Arsenal got coming ahead, because when Martin Odegaard is in the team, it is very, very evident that Arsenal are a much better side. Here's one from Southwest Gooner. Before we wrap this one up today, you said, on the team for the weekend at West Ham, if Big Gabby is a doubt, I would put Calafiori over to the left centre-half alongside William Saliba and play Zinchenko or Kivior at left back. What would you do, Charles? I've been mulling over this for a while, what I would do if Gabriel is not fit. I think I would just play Kivior at centre back next to Saliba, I have to say. I just think if you get into the realms of moving fullbacks across, you're shaking the defence up even more. And I'm just getting a bit annoyed and fed up of the defence having to be shaken up and players moved out of position. So I think I would just much rather, we've kept Kivior for a reason. So use him, play him in his best position, which is centre-back. He is a centre-back. He's not a left-back. So why would you move Calafiori, who's, he can play centre-back. We know that. He's done it he plays it for Italy. But for Arsenal, he's left-back. So keep him over there. Just bring Kivior in, play him in his natural position alongside Saliba. And then you just keep the defence with as little sort of disruption as possible. So you just have Timber right back, Saliba, Kivior, and Calafiori. That would be my back four for this game if Gabriel is injured. Fingers crossed, of course, Gabriel is not going to be injured and he's going to be fine. He can just slot in and we can have the same back four that we've seen in the last couple of games. Mikel was speaking about during Timber also in the press conference how important it is. It was interesting. I saw it in the quote. He said there's still much more layers and levels for him to go to. And I think that's really exciting. You keep I certainly keep forgetting how young Timber is. He's not been in the game that long. He's come over to a new country. He's still very young. He's had big injuries. Just come into the side now. He's showing us what he can do. But the exciting thing is there's still huge room. He's got so much potential, huge room for improvement for Jurriën Timber. I think that's really, really exciting because what we've seen from him so far, as I've said on many shows during the last week, I just think he's an exceptional footballer and he's just going to get better and better. And that is a very exciting thing for us as Arsenal fans. And that is it for today, for Friday. Thank you very much for watching and for listening. I'll be at the West Ham Stadium tomorrow. So I'll be doing my live match updates on X and on Blue Sky. I'll do the my sort of updates at halftime and full time on Facebook as well. So whichever platform you are following me on, you'll be able to get updates from the game. I'll do a video afterwards as well with my match reaction and player ratings. So keep eyes peeled for that. I will also do a preview show in the morning with my predicted 11 as always. If you want to get involved in that show, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. With your team selections, starting 11s, what you think Mikel Arteta should do. Would love to get your thoughts on that. And of course, let me know what you think you would prefer for Manchester City versus Liverpool at Anfield as well. Until then, have a great Friday, everyone. Enjoy the start to your weekend. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.